The regular meeting of the Wheeling Planning Commission for Thursday, April 11th, 2013 is called to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Burns.
Here.
Commissioner Dorband.
I'm here.
Commissioner Johnson, that's me, I'm here. Commissioner Powers.
Here.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Here.
And Commissioner Steilen gave prior notice that he would not be here tonight. Chairman Raffato.
Here. Thank you. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
Do have one change. We spoke with both of the petitioners on tonight's agenda, and what we'd like to do is switch the order around and have the Park District item go first, as it's expected to be fairly rapid. The other item is a second hearing and had some list of questions that we intend to go over. So with that, I would say only that one change.
Okay, thank you. Okay, calling docket number PC 13-3, Pleasant Run Park, 590 Equestrian Drive, minor site plan and appearance approval of a park. Mr. Jennings, any comments?
Nothing at this time. I'll just call the petitioner forward, please.
Mr. Raffel? Thank you. Could you please give your name and address?
My name is Larry Raffel. I'm the Superintendent of Planning at the Wheeling Park District, 333 West Dundee Road here in Wheeling.
Okay. Present away.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for allowing us to present this modifications to Pleasant Run Park. As you know, we've been coming before the Plan Commission pretty much every year, as we do a new park each year as part of our neighborhood park redevelopment plan, and the one that's scheduled for this year is Pleasant Run Park. And I just want to note, and it is noted in the packet, is that we've applied for an OSLAD grant for this project, and we were shortlisted and interviewed in October, but we still haven't heard anything. So we don't know exactly when we're going to be able to do this park. It's based on the OSLAD grant. We're not allowed to actually do any type of construction, or for that matter, pay any expenses out until we've been notified from them. So if we don't hear back from them, probably by July or sooner, this project might get put off till 2014. So, and that is noted in kind of your packet that we would like an extension on how long we're allowed to do these improvements. So having said that, let me just go through real quickly kind of the process that we go through. And what we did for this park is the same as what we've done for all of our parks, is we do a public process in which we go out to the neighborhood and do what we call a listening session, where we talk with the neighbors about kind of the existing conditions, the issues that they're having, the opportunities that they see, and what they'd like to see at the park. And then we go through kind of almost like a playground design course where we teach them about playgrounds and get their input on what they'd like to see in their park and their playgrounds. Then we go and issue a request for proposal to playground manufacturers, or reps actually, to submit to us playground designs. We take these designs back to the neighborhood and ask for their comments on the playground equipment designs. And we kind of let them choose the playground equipment, and then we go back to the reps and kind of ask them to make modifications as the neighborhood has told us. And then the other things you see in terms of just general park modifications come from the neighborhood and come from what we heard through our community-wide survey. So that's kind of where we get our program for these parks. Now, if we go through Pleasant Run Park, just the design for that, basically this is similar to what we did at Northside, but I'll explain a couple of the differences. The parking lot, the existing ball field are to remain as is. This is actually one of our heavier used neighborhood parks. We hold, there's a lot of ball practice out there, soccer practice. We hold our movies in the park at this park. So really in terms of that open turf area, that really we need for the ball field and for our soccer practice and our movies in the park. So the ball field, the parking lot, and the open turf area will remain as is. Generally, where the improvements are going to happen is around the playground area, and then as we're doing in all of our other parks, like Northside, is we're creating the loop path system. This one, yeah, that pathway you see right there is all new pathway. And again, it not only comes from the neighborhood, this was the #1 item in our community-wide surveys. They wanted to see walking and biking paths. So we're doing the loop pathway system. It's a 1/4 mile. And again, what we're doing is measuring out our pathways as we put them in so we can let the people know, once around is a 1/4 mile. And, for some reason, I think that's kind of like each park tends to be about a 1/4 mile when we measure them out. So again, this one's a 1/4 mile. So we have the new loop pathway system, and then we're doing a new playground also. And this is the equipment that was kind of slow. Well, I'll go through as you had them. We're doing a new shelter. This shelter is actually bigger than the one at Northside, and one of the reasons for that is because this is a more heavily used park. We've got the activity at the playground, the activity at the ball field, the activity at the open space, and movies in the park. And then also when you do an application for an OSLAD grant, they tend to look more favorably on larger shelter structures. So this one is, I believe it's 28 feet diameter, and it's 18.5 feet high. And that includes that cupola. So it's lower than your maximum allowed. It will be a metal seamed roof. The color of it has not been selected yet. So this one, like I say, is larger than Northside. Playground equipment, you can see we do what we do in all of our parks is we separate it 2 to 5-year-olds and 5 to 12-year-olds, and then swings are a separate area. And what you're seeing underneath this park is not the design of the safety surface. It's kind of what the rep put in their submittal. But this has a lot of play elements in it, and it's something new. We've used this play equipment before, but not and currently at any of our playgrounds. So we're using a new equipment, and it's all kind of the metal poly-coated posts, plastic slides, plastic components. So it's got a lot of play activity to it, and that was one of the reasons we selected it. There's individual play elements. There's the 2 to 5, the 5 to 12, and then the separate swings. Then with the safety surface, we're going to do a design that's similar to what we did at Northside, where we do the checkerboard pattern, and then we also have some other areas that are going to be a standard color. We tried at Husky. Well, last time I came before you at Husky, we did more of a kind of a free form pattern, and while it looks great, it just takes it's a lot harder to do. It takes more material, takes more time. So we found that really for the time that the guys spend on it and really the impact of it, this checkerboard pattern really works well. So the safety surface is going to be the same material, the synthetic rubber, and it'll be a checkerboard pattern then with some other solid areas also. Now we're also doing a new basketball court. Now, it's not really a new basketball court. It's going to have the same general configuration, the same general location as the other one, but it will be all new, and it's a little bit larger. Basketball is always it's a difficult space to design. All parks want them, all kids want them, all parents want them away from their homes. So we generally found in this type of design, it works well because a lot of different games, half-court games can go on at the same time without the older kids monopolizing the court. So we're just adjusting that one a little bit. We're moving it over slightly from where the existing one is. We'll have seat walls and landscaping similar to what we did in Northside. We're going to do native plantings and perennials. What we're trying to do now with our parks as we landscape them is give them a lot more color and a lot more pop to them. So we're going to do landscaping, and you could see those kind of just west of the playground and the entry area, and just south of the entry area there off of Honeysuckle Drive. So we're doing landscaping, and we provided you with the seat wall. It's the same. It's the unipaver block with the stone cap on it. You can see that in the lower photo there. And then our site amenities are the same as what we're using in all our parks: trash and recycle, And in fact, the trash and recycle are recycled plastic, and the bench is the same material, and that's recycled plastic. And then the bike racks, which we're using now, and just in terms of the bike racks, we're recognizing that a lot of people want to ride their bikes to the parks. So in this particular park, where we've placed the bike racks, is to have two of them. If we can go back to the site plan, we're going to have two of them between the existing parking lot and the existing ball field. One of them just east of that, the turnaround. Another one just north of the basketball court, and another one just off the entry at Honeysuckle Drive, be right up in there. And then the other thing is I wanted to note is that as we redo our parks too, and we're putting in these pathways, we're also putting drop-down bollards in at all of our parks now where they enter in, off the neighborhood. So you'll see, right where you come in off of Honeysuckle, there'll be drop-down bollards there as long as signage. We're putting in new signage, telling people kind of the park rules, no driving through the parks, those type of things. And we'll also put them at the pathways where we have the existing parking lot. So having given you a kind of an overview of the park, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Like I say, right now, we don't have a definite schedule of when we're going to build this park. It will be done in-house, again, like we've done all of our last couple of parks. But until we get a definitive from IDNR, it's hard to say whether we'll be able to do this park this year or in 2014.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Burns.
Thank you. Very good, Larry. You answered just about all of my questions, and you raised a new one. What is the Osland Grant Program? I'm not familiar with it.
OSLAD grant is the Open Space Land Development and Acquisition program through the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. And what they do is they do a matching grant for open space, either acquisition or development. And we typically apply almost every year for this. And I can't remember the exact year, maybe 2005 or 2004, we got one to purchase the property from St. Joseph's. And in this one, we're applying for half of the development costs. Up to $400,000 is what you can apply on this project. And they used to, I don't want to make it real long, but they used to announce these awards in January. And over time, it's get pushed back, and at one point, it was discontinued for a little while, now it's back, but last year, they didn't hear till July. So that's the OSLAD grant program.
Okay. Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
That's my only question, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. What are the usual hours, Larry?
I think they're
Dusk to dawn?
dusk to dawn, yeah.
Okay, so you don't plan any illumination or anything like that, like at the basketball courts?
We're not, but I do believe there is a light fixture. In fact, I know there's a light fixture in this park, right there, and that's kind of right by the parking lot. But we're not planning any additional lights, to light it up for
Evening use or anything?
Evening use,
okay.
but we do use it in the evening because we do the movies in the park.
Right.
But we're not planning on, lighting it up so kids can play basketball at night.
Okay. And no additional lighting in the parking lot?
No, we're not touching anything in the parking lot. And there may be more lights in the parking lot. I'm not absolutely sure on that. Yeah, that's
I got a friend that lives over on Paddock, right near that park.
Yeah.
And I go by there, half a dozen times, and I just never looked. But I thought I'd raise that just to see.
Yeah, I can't recall if there's more lights than that one light, but I can certainly get that information and pass it on to Andrew.
Well, if most of your activity is dusk to dawn, except for the movie night,
yeah,
it's probably.
We do have, just real quickly, we do have lights. Our activities are dusk to dawn, but we do have lights in parks for security because we do find vandalism. So in some of the parks, like Husky's a good one, we do have lights in there just to kind of
deter,
yeah, vandals.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. As always, you guys put together a great package here. I have no questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Powers.
Fire department have any questions, or you're okay with that? Everything that's going on?
Yeah, this was one we did not review. It's usually kind of out of our purview, but we don't see any objections to anything here.
Okay, I have no further questions. Great job.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dorban.
Thank you. Nice job. I do have a couple questions. First of all, I guess it's a staff question. Do we have to make it a condition that the gazebo will not be any taller than 18 feet? Or how are we going to mark the plan?
As proposed, it meets the code. I think that we can review it as it comes in on a permit.
Okay. The other question I have, because I was over there today, the equipment looks like it's in good shape. Do you use the equipment again somewhere else for parts? Or, you know, I mean, I'm sure that somebody could use that equipment, or is that not something you can do?
What we've done in the past is, and we actually had people, it looks like it's in good condition, but it's just really outdated. It's 14 years old, and we tend to replace them after, you know, close to 12. What we've been doing on some of our parks is we actually disassemble it, and there's an organization that takes the equipment from us, and I think they use, I don't know if it's South America or, you know, some other country, they actually use it and they install it down there. So we don't reuse it, but it is reused.
Oh, that's great. Okay, because I was looking at it going, to me, it doesn't look bad. To you, it obviously, you know better than we would, but I think those are all the questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dorban. We got everybody, right? Okay. A couple of questions, Larry. The width of the path. What is the width of the path?
The width of the path will be 8 feet.
8 feet.
Yeah, because we do want to be able to get our maintenance vehicles.
Okay, so do you, on something like that, do you separate it? I don't know if you get enough traffic to separate it so people are going, you know, so they're not going across. You put a line through the middle on something like that on a path?
No, we typically haven't on those. I mean, we haven't really found a conflict. When it's 8 feet wide, usually people know which way to go.
Okay, all right. And then I think I was counting as you were saying them, 4 bike racks. Is that what I heard?
5.
5.
2. Yeah, 5. 2. There's 2. One of them I said 4 times, but one of them would have 2
Okay.
sets of bike racks.
So Andrew, do we need to designate those on a plan to ensure that?
No, I think we're comfortable with the locations. I think that generally speaking, they have scattered them around the park.
Okay. Okay. All right, that's fine. Okay, that's all I had. Do I hear a vote?
Oh, I noticed that on the staff comments that they asked about the material that the gazebo is made out of.
Mm-hmm. It's metal with a standing metal seam roof, and it's a clear story, meaning it's 2 stories with an opening between the 2, and then there's a cupola on top. And it's metal. It's all metal. It'll be painted metal.
Oh, okay. Oh, painted metal. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it also discusses whether the north entry from Honeysuckle requires some type of deterrent for vehicular traffic.
Yeah, that'll be the drop-down bollard,
Okay.
which is yellow, and
Okay.
we're putting them in all of our parks now as we redevelop them.
Let's see, what else did you mention in here, Andrew, that I may have forgotten to ask? What about the 1-year extension? Do we have to, will they have to come back after a year if they don't get the funding, or how do we?
The staff suggestion right now is a 3-year, allow it to be up to 3 years from the date of the
Okay.
original approval.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
I could just interject one quick point on the bollards. There may be a need for the village to look at some sort of signage. When our staff was down looking at the entrance from Honeysuckle, I don't believe that we found any sort of dead-end signage or anything that would let people know farther up the street, if they're driving south, that they are coming up to the park. So there may be a need for us to look at something in addition to the bollards.
Do you want to put that as a condition? I think you should.
Yeah, just as a reminder to us to
Okay.
take a look at it.
That would be, I mean, we coordinate that, but that would be done by the village.
Yes.
So when you're done with that, just read off the conditions that we have and get a motion going here.
Okay, there are two conditions. One relates to the timing and the other relates to honeysuckle. Number one, that construction in substantial conformance with the approved plans may be permitted up to 3 years from the approval date. And two, that the village staff investigate whether additional signage is needed to indicate that honeysuckle is a dead-end street.
Sounds good. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Dorband. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Motion was made by me, and I say yes. Commissioner Dorband,
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Powers,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf,
Yes.
Chairman Rafato.
Yes.
6 yeses and 1 absent.
That's it.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Sure. Do they own this property too? Is it really? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Wow.
Cars, I guess, over there. After dark activities.
I'd rather get fine money.
Depends what I'm signing.
Calling docket number 2013-7 and SCBA 13-8, Party Fantasy 7150 Capitol Drive. Special use and site plan approval for an indoor sports and recreation facility, and SCBA 13-8, appearance approval of a wall sign. Mr. Jennings.
Just a couple of notes before I hand it over to the petitioner. There were a few questions over the course of the week about the lighting. We've been in touch with the petitioner. We've done a review of the lighting based on the fixture details that we were provided. Our initial review of that was that while the lighting probably meets the standards for the current use, the proposed use has a different standard in the code due to the fact that the public would be expected to use the parking lot after dark. We believe there's probably more than one way to address that. We've been discussing with them some possible solutions. They've indicated that they understand that there's more than one way to meet this requirement. So the staff's suggestion at this point is, as it's written in the updated motion, but we wanted to be clear with them that the worst case scenario for this is that a pole light might be needed. They can probably work with a professional to come up with a solution that that would involve pole lights, maybe a suggestion that involves multiple building-mounted lights, but as it is, they have indicated that they understand that the current lighting is almost certainly inadequate for the updated use. Aside from that, just a couple of quick notes before I hand it off. The fire department memo has been updated. Mr. Antor is here and can answer questions on that. We have received, and you have printed copies of 2 updated plans the petitioner provided. They're extremely similar to what you have, just removed some of the older notes. The previous plan was drawn on a scanned version of the site plan and floor plan. And so now we have a clean copy so you can see the dimensions and see the various features labeled. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to Mr. Moore. And I believe we need to swear you in. Were you sworn in last time?
I was sworn in last time.
You were
I have
sworn
no
in?
problem swearing in.
No,
again.
it's okay.
As long as you were sworn in last time. If you could just give your name and business address to our recording secretary, that'd be great.
Sure. Golan Moore, business address is 390 Town Line Road in Mundelein.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Moore, I think, well, why don't we do this? If you could describe the changes that you've made, the modifications based upon our proposals to you, we can probably start there. I mean, we all know that it's going to be I'm taking some liberty here, so we all know that it's going to be a sports, a fantasy place, that there's going to have all these gaming things here, so we all know that. So I think I'd like to highlight what changes that you've made based upon our comments.
Absolutely.
So, great, thank you.
Well, first I want to thank you for having me. Unfortunately, my father had to take my little brother to a hockey tournament in Detroit, but fortunately he's got me. I can take care of business. Nobody wants to disappoint a 12-year-old boy, so thank you very much for having me. When we met a few weeks ago, we took your comments very seriously. The meeting was actually quite beneficial for us. It gave us a lot of direction, and we've implemented every point that was given to us into this plan, and I can go down, write down the numbers. This is the most that...
It does work if you want to try it. Or maybe it doesn't. You looking at the floor plan?
Another one here? No.
Floor plan?
Okay, so, well, actually, we can start with the first picture with the site plan. I might be going back and forth. Okay. First thing is that we've striped the loading dock for employee parking. Before we had 73 parking spots. Now with this additional parking, that's 8 spots over there. And directly to the north, we also painted an additional 8 spots. That brings the total number of parking spots up to 89. One of the other comments was that we would agree to maintain the water detention pond, and of course we agreed with that. Just reaffirming that tonight. The parking lot will be repaired, seal coated, and restriped. Yes, of course, we agree to that. The conditions listed by the Health Division and staff report shall be met. We've included those in the floor plan, if you don't mind going back. I don't have a pointer. Oh, here we go.
There you go.
All right, so we did include the a 3-compartment sink over in the kitchen area. I can't read how, you know what?
They have a copy as well.
We have a copy too.
Yeah.
Okay. We've included the location of the 3-compartment sink as well as a refrigerator and commercial warmer and prep table, which will, those were items that were commented by the Health Division. Of course, because we have a 3-compartment sink and we'll be cutting cake, someone will be on site with the Illinois certificate, the Illinois Certified Food Manager certificate. We have also emailed to the commission the updated description, which includes amending the hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
12 a.m.
10 a.m., 12 a.m.?
You've got 12 a.m. on it.
Midnight is 12 a.m.
Sorry about that.
That's a crazy
That's right.
thing, but
12 a.m., that's right. That would be
go
a very
from
short
11:59
business.
p.m. to 12 a.m.
I don't think we'll be very successful if we're open for 2 hours. Thank you. We've noted that the location of the playstations may be modified, and we've drawn a little bit more specifically how the play area is. That's to the north with couches and inflatables. We've, back to the site plan, we've drawn the trash enclosure, which is located right there. Thank you. And we've noted that the trash enclosure needs to be, will be made of cedar, and the steel posts will be covered with cedar boards. That is noted, and that's how it will be constructed. In the front entrance, we've included 2 bike racks just adjacent to the entranceway. One of the comments was that the willow tree to the north should be trimmed. I couldn't agree more with that. Next up is the plans are subject to the comments of the fire department. What I could say at this point is we're at the mercy of the fire department, where we perfectly acknowledge the several issues that we will need to address, including the fire panel, the location of sprinklers, as well as fire extinguishers. Just a little history on this building. When it was a warehouse, we had about 8 rows of shelving that went from floor to ceiling, and at the time we were also storing the plastic packaging for the Garden Fresh operation, so we were storing a lot of plastic. But with those racks that went from floor to ceiling, we had to have additional sprinklers because those racks blocked the coverage of the sprinklers. But when we modified the floor plan to accommodate for the go-kart and for the inflatables, whatever the fire department wants, we will make sure that we adjust the sprinklers up. We have enough sprinkler pipes in the building that adding or moving sprinkler heads, that shouldn't be a problem at all. Any other comments from the fire department? We're more than happy to work with the fire department and address those items. Andrew touched on the parking lot lights. In the meeting a few weeks ago, something that wasn't addressed, and I knew we had parking lights in there, but I wasn't 100% certain, and I didn't want to say so under oath, which is why I didn't interject. But currently, as it's existing, we do have 5 parking lot lights on the east side of the building, and then 4 as well currently existing on the north side. Now, those currently existing lights aren't shown here. The one indication on this drawing that wasn't on previous drawings is that we've indicated one additional light on the new parking lot right there. Thank you. The good news is we have the fixtures. We can, right now I believe they're 170 watt halides. We can either change the fixture and allow for a 400 watt or change to LED. In any case, the parking lot will be adequately lit to meet the new function of the building. The project description has been updated, including the hours of operation and the number of go-kart tracks, number of tracks. This was touched on before, but I'll reaffirm that all of the go-karts will be electric. We have no intention of ever moving to gas. We have no problem if the village wants some commitment that we would never switch to gas. We have no problem with that. And overall, we've provided 2 new drawings which are much cleaner. These were, so now we should have only 2 drawings and 1 description. Hopefully this drawing is a lot cleaner, more clearly labeled, and with that, I'm at your mercy.
Thank you. We're not that bad. Ron, any other comments?
Yeah, basically, as far as Mr. Moore's comments on the sprinkler, Yes, they were designed for rack storage, and there were rack sprinklers in the racks themselves, but with the racks removed and adding tires throughout the facility, there may or may not be some design differences in the sprinkler system. That'll be up to a sprinkler contractor to verify that they have proper sprinkler density, and that would be something we would look at in the building permitting process as normal. A couple other items that are in my review letter that was forwarded to you today. Regarding the bike rack in the front of the building, when that's installed, we need to just see that it doesn't end up being an obstruction to the exiting at the front of the building. When you look at the drawing, it looks like there's about 5 feet on either side of the doorways, so they may have to put some little pads or something and just kind of move them over a little bit, because the last thing you want are the bikes tripping people when they're trying to exit the building. Also noted in a site visit that the actual fire department connection is behind a parking spot on the front face of the building, and we'd like to see that get striped out so that there's no parking in that one spot. So that will affect their parking count by 1. The other item that we had discussed previously, that would also be a design issue during the building plan review process, just verifying that there's sufficient exits based on the new uses and that the travel distances meet the requirements in the building and fire prevention codes. Also in the current submittal that we received, they're showing a stove and an oven in a, I'm calling it a kitchen area, where the 3-compartment sink is. If they are going to have a stove and an oven, it will require what they call a type 1 mechanical hood and a suppression system for that. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
If I might address one of those issues, in the prior drawing which we provided, there was the oven and stove. That has since been removed, and we're changing it with a warmer. Whether or not that requires a hood, I can't speak to.
No, a warmer would not require a hood. That's just to keep food warm.
Right.
If you've got a stove, you can actually cook on it and create the grease-laden vapors that would require the hood.
In our revised drawing, which was submitted this week, we've removed the stove and oven.
Is that it, Ron?
That would be it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Andrew, just before we start, we have the memo from the fire department. Do we have to pick and choose the conditions from here, or can we?
There's a couple
put a condition in there that just says that it's got to meet. Our ordinances say that it's got to meet all of the fire codes anyway.
That's true.
But it seems like there were a couple of things that Ron mentioned, bike rack, striping. So do we need to call those out as conditions, or can we somehow?
You can reference the memo as a whole, that the petitioner shall meet the, shall address the comments listed in the memo dated April
11th.
Okay.
That would be fine. It does provide a reminder specifically how the plan might be modified to meet the code. It does go without saying that it must meet the code, but it is, I think.
There are a couple of additional items that, so. Okay, so I think after we're done, I'll just get a general consensus how everybody feels about either calling those specific things out or just referencing the memo. So with that said, I will start with Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. It looks like you have addressed a lot of the items that we talked about last meeting. I have one question for the fire inspector, and that has to do with that maintenance area. Does that need to be buffered, or because there are batteries and battery storages Is that going to have to be buffered in some way?
There are requirements in the fire prevention code for different, quote, hazardous materials and what you have to do with them. At this point, I don't know that they have or will have a significant amount of anything on site. As to batteries, as an example, to store 100 batteries, just to pick a number out of the air, it's a large cost, and they may not turn them over that quick. So if they only have a couple of batteries, it's no different than what they had in there before if they had an industrial lift truck, even though it's a slightly different, it's an assembly use group now, but there isn't that much off-gassing from a limited quantity of batteries. If they had any flammable materials like lubricants and things like that for lubing the chassis on a vehicle, if they are flammable, they're going to have to be in a flammable liquids cabinet. So there are provisions in the existing codes to deal, but as far as any wholesale ventilation, I don't foresee this being the battery storage room or an automotive service area in a regular repair shop.
Okay, very good. My next question has to do with the go-karts. What's the top end on these go-karts?
As far as speed,
As far as speed?
the top end on them is up to, I believe, 30 miles per hour. It depends on weight, depends on the pavement. We would govern them to no faster than 25 miles per hour. And in addition, all of the go-karts will have, they do have a remote control, how do they call it? There's a transponder on each go-kart with a master controller, which allows for our staff to stop all of the go-karts. If there's unsafe conditions, with the press of a button, we can stop all of the go-karts remotely.
Okay, because my concern has to do with 7 to 15-year-old kids driving essentially an automobile up to 25 miles an hour. I am not at all comfortable with that, especially when you get 7-year-olds who, aren't used to doing anything like that.
That's why with the design of the track, we wanted to incorporate as many turns as possible so that a 7-year-old or 8-year-old, 9-year-old, I mean, I know I was crazy when I was a 12-year-old, but not like my hockey player brother.
I understand.
But
I would still like to see these, I know that these things are broken down by age groups. I would still like to see some of them are somehow governed so that these younger kids, I mean, a 16-year-old at least has, most of them have a driving permit, and they're behind, they're used to behind the wheel. And it's the smaller kids that I'm a little concerned.
right, and
I'd like to see those governed.
that's a fair concern, but, fortunately, that's why we didn't want any straightaways with the track. We wanted it to be lots of turns so that they don't have the opportunity to get the car up to 25 miles per hour.
Okay, so it takes a few seconds to,
It's got some torque right at the beginning, but as far as reaching, once you get past the first, 7 miles per hour, then the acceleration isn't as drastic.
okay. And I don't know if the chairman wants to poll that or not, but that's my concern on the go-karts. Special use, of course, it's industrial, and now you're going to make it recreational, and the building just wasn't built for, outside wasn't built, just like we've run across the lighting. There's usually sidewalks, and there are none. So the special use doesn't address, a lot of that, and there are concerns. But I think you've addressed, especially the lighting. That has to be paramount. But I believe those are all my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Just thought of a new one here. when there's a, for lack of a better term, race going on, is that entryway back into the pits like blocked off so they don't stray
The
in
entryway
there?
will be blocked off. We don't want, and there's employees, there's a pit master, and then there's going to be other employees assisting with kids getting into the carts, out of the carts. We'll have the proper staff to close off the entrance into the pit stop, as well as when it's time for the heat. We're not going to call it a race. We're going to call it a heat.
Okay.
When the heat is over, to prevent the kids from, we're going to direct them back into the
Right.
pit at a safe speed.
How many laps typically do they get?
Well, we're going to do it based on time. It's either going to be a 5-minute heat or a 7-minute heat. After that, we raise the checkerboard flag, and then at that point, they got to come in. If they go past the pit, then we'll just have to we'll just have to manually shut off their go-kart and get ready for the next heat.
Okay. I had a question on the hours that you rewrote here. You got 10 a.m. to 12 a.m., midnight, in order to accommodate large parties and banquets, but you also anticipate longer hours during times when schools are not in session, summer vacation, winter break, spring break. Longer hours meaning what?
Possibly in the morning. What it means by longer hours is during the week, we could close at 8 p.m. In the summertime, we could close at 8 p.m., but in the summertime, if we find that our needs determined to be open past 8 p.m., we'll have extended hours to 10 p.m. We don't want to be open past 12 a.m.
Okay.
That's not what we intended when we mentioned that.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. On the bike racks, are you going to have concrete pads off the sidewalk? Because the way it's shown on the one drawing, looks like they're going to just be stuck in the grass on the side of the sidewalk.
As it is currently in the entrance, it's actually already now a pretty wide area of concrete. The concrete extends past the doors by about 8 feet on either side. So there's plenty of room for the bike rack. In fact, we decided against, because we have 2 flagpoles as well on either side, and those go into the concrete. There is some landscaping in the front there, but there's plenty of concrete, so we're not going to be putting the bike racks in the grass.
So where they're shown on this drawing, that's not in grassy area?
It might need a correction. I'd have to look at the satellite to know for certain.
Yeah, that's what I had done. I looked at it and it looked like it would be outside.
It's too difficult to tell on this.
I think that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
Commissioner Powers.
Thanks. Have you decided on a total number of carts you're going to have? I mean, I think I saw it was possibly, it's going to be 40. Did you come up with a number that we wouldn't be exceeding that or anything? Because I'm not sure if I saw anything in your description.
We're happy with 40. If we have more than 40, then I think it might be cost prohibitive. I don't want to, we're going to start off, our plan is to start off with 20.
Okay.
That's we have an order on hold, as soon as we get permits and we're good to go, we have 20 coming in. That's not to say that we won't have 2 in the shop, so if we have 42, I don't know if that's a problem with the village. If we should be limited at 40, we'll limit it to 40.
Okay.
No, I think from the village standpoint, the suggestions related to capacity are more related to people, not so much operationally how you need to have enough to handle maintenance of the vehicles.
On the track and in the pits, it would not exceed 40.
Okay, that's fine.
That's not to say we wouldn't have 2 in the maintenance area, but on the track itself, it would not be more than 40.
The actual barriers around the track, what kind of material is it? Is that going to be like tires or some kind of synthetic material? What is that going to be?
The first barrier is a high-density polyethylene plate that extends all the way on the inside and outside of what we have are tires. So in a way, it's a high-density polyethylene sandwich filled with tires.
Okay.
Then around the perimeter of the building, there are these plastic barriers that are designed specifically for indoor go-kart tracks, which will extend along the exterior walls of the building.
Okay, and the fire department is good with that?
Yeah, that comes back to the sprinkler system design. Since they're plastic and rubber, the sprinkler system's got to be designed to protect those should there be a fire. But that would appear to be a common type of a material used for impact resistance in a business of this type.
Okay. I guess the next set of questions, I'm going to go back to the special use. You know, we've talked about a lighting plan, and I know last time Commissioner Dorman asked for like a photometric study, and in the actual code, there's like 5 things that are listed there, and I guess what I'm wondering is, have we satisfied those, or is what staff is suggesting, you know, what we're proposing? I'm just worried about inadequate lighting. If we're increasing the wattage of the lights outside of there. I mean, I've been around there, and there are lights, you know, light poles on other pieces of property and other, you know, out there, but, you know, on this particular piece of property there isn't, and we're going to be entertaining a lot more people, and I would hate to see us fall short on a lighting requirement because, you know, possibly we didn't have enough information in the front to make a good decision.
So if I could just fill in some of the staff review on this. A photometric plan, I would say on a new building, we definitely require, new construction definitely require it. In something like this, I believe that the Planning Commission and the board have some ability to review the existing lighting and compare it to the code. What I would suggest, similar to what I said in the staff report, is that they have an acknowledgement that they must meet the code. We believe, based on the information they've given us, that it doesn't right now. We think, just by way of graphic description, the lights that are on the building, if you take the photometric information from the manufacturer, we calculate that to hit the minimum lighting level for the new use, again, which is a higher minimum than the current use. The minimum lighting level for the new use is met up until around this point. So they will have parking in the front, which will be customer parking, that based on the fixture they've given us is going to be too low. Now, if you take the next light up by the same manufacturer, which might even be the same housing but replacing some of the internal parts of it, they could probably take care of this entire area without even swapping out the fixture. Where you get into difficulty with the exact fixture configuration that they have, sorry, I'm going the wrong direction here. The area that I think is going to be difficult is this back area, because those wall-mounted lights, they can only go so high. They can only go up to 25 feet, and the manufacturer only makes one that has a certain wattage. So you get to a point where, based on our review of it, we think that it's unlikely they'll be able to get a wall-mounted fixture here that'll meet the minimum standard back here. They know that they will have a professional working on this. If their professional can come up with a fixture that meets the minimum requirements, I think the staff would be satisfied by that. Our advice to them is that there's a chance they will have to put in a pole-mounted light for this back corner. They're aware that that possibility exists. So, yes, photometric plan would be required if this was a brand-new building. I think that the commission and the board do have the ability to allow it to go toward permit with this condition the way it's written.
Okay, my fear is just after, if we do implement it, and what happens if it goes in and we determine, it looks like it's insufficient, then what do we do? I don't know.
If we receive a permit from, you have when you have permit drawings, you usually have, a 30, 40-page document. When the planning staff reviews that, we would be reviewing whatever they propose on the lighting to make sure that it meets the code. So they're professional, their design professional would have to show how they meet the code for that area. We've given them the advance warning that if they don't change it, it won't meet the code.
Okay.
They won't be able to move toward occupancy on this.
Okay. Have you had any conversations, I know your dad was here 2 weeks ago and he expressed an interest to, in the future, have, hold bar mitzvahs and possibly going for a liquor license. I don't know if that's something that should be mentioned in this docket to, like, say, it is like a future intention that this is possible, because what I'm a little bit concerned about too is any additional parking that may be needed. Have you actually talked to any of your neighbors on each side of you to see if parking was exceeded, to get any kind of commitment for them that, okay, I'm going to be open till midnight, and then I know you guys aren't around after, let's say, 5 o'clock. Will you allow me, if I have some overflow parking, to actually park in your lot at all? Have you talked to anybody regarding that?
We spoke to the neighbors about, my father was convinced that we had a easement when the Grace Church had some remodeling or when they were building that building. But we reached out to the property managers who've changed hands, including the university. They've changed hands, and the village doesn't have it on record, and the property managers don't have it on record. So I can't say that we currently have an easement. I think at this time we wouldn't want to apply for the liquor license at this time, because we need to absorb and see what the parking situation is going to be like. I know as the plan currently exists, we're more than comfortable with it, because with our facility in Mundelein, on Sunday, we share the building with Salvation Army, which is closed on Sunday. So we know on Sunday the parking is just for us. So in our facility in Mundelein, we usually never have more than 50, 60 parking spots, and that includes parking spots. As far as banqueting goes, I think it's a little premature to submit for a liquor license at this point. I think that would be better served down the line.
Okay.
In the future after we're open.
Was there also something that you mentioned in your statement that if you were holding banquets, the go-kart track would be closed? Was there something in there, or did I misread something? I thought I read something that said if you're going to have banquets or something, that the go-kart.
It could have been the room with the inflatables that we can move around. Mm-hmm. The nature of the track is once it's installed, we're not going to be able to move it.
No, but would it still be operational while you would be home? Okay. Okay.
If the party wants to pay for it.
Could I just
certainly
clarify something? I think the statement that we had during the week with your business was that if you were to have a private party, the rest of the facility would be closed to the public. Is that what's intended? Is that if you have a private event, that the go-kart area not also be open to the public at that?
Oh, open to the public. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. No, it will not be open to the public. It would be a private party.
So when we wrote that into the staff report, that was not their statement. So when we wrote that in the staff report, that's what we had intended to convey.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. So if that actually happens, I guess the potential would be there for somebody to show up and want to go to the track, and they couldn't because the building would be closed, right, for a private event?
Unfortunately, but we could provide signage at the entrance for For our driveway, if our neighbors would like us, if the neighbors would allow us, we could put signage on the 2 access streets to Capitol Drive.
Okay. I guess we can we talk about the sign too?
Well, actually, I was going to,
Or should we just leave that for?
no, I would like him to describe it, so I was hoping that we could go through some
Okay,
questions first.
that's it for now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Dorban.
Thank you. Out of curiosity, given any given time, how long do you imagine children and adults being in your facility? In other words, if a family were to come in, how long would you anticipate they would be in the facility?
2 hours.
2 hours. Okay.
The average would probably be less, but if someone's having a private birthday party, the standard is a 2-hour party, which includes a time in the party room with cutting the cake, opening of the presents, and allotted time either on the track or in the inflatable zone.
But now that's just if they're having a party, correct? What about?
Correct.
I mean, the family comes in and they're staying there. Is that same 2-hour window the same thing? Or do you think, are they there longer?
You know, we were in Florida a couple of weeks ago, and we bought a couple passes for the go-karts. And after 3 runs, we were tired. We couldn't, I mean, it's actually kind of tough. You know, you're turning the wheel, you're stressed out. It's quite exhilarating. But, you know, I don't anticipate, the average would be under 2 hours is what I would anticipate for the average stay. Because if it's a 5 or 7 minute track time, and you know, you can only ride 3 or 4 times before either you get bored of it or you get tired or you get hungry. I don't see it being more than a 2-hour stay.
You pointed out something just now that crossed my mind as well, and that is before you get hungry. And you're only planning on having just the pizza brought in for a party. If your plan is down the road, and you know, we need to think about that now, to have liquor, I would be very hesitant to think about having liquor without having some kind of food. At your Mundelein facility, you have food. And I have some real reservations about having the liquor without the food and people there 3 hours without something to eat. I think you know, if you're looking at a group of 16, 17-year-olds, they're going to want to be there a couple hours. I think, you know, now without anything to eat, I'm not sure that that's a wise move, because they have nothing to do. I mean, there's obviously, it doesn't appear that you're going to have any way of having drinks for them and nothing to eat. And that whole scenario kind of has me concerned. The other piece of it is that the safety of the children. And, you know, I've given us a lot of thought since you were here last, and I'm thinking in terms of how they operate at Dave & Buster's. You know, and I don't know that it's this commission's position or place, but I certainly, you know, think I would like the minutes to reflect that. I would like the trustees to look at, you know, the safety if they have to go to the police department and figure out a way to make children safe, whether it's the wristbands like Dave & Buster's does so that people know where these children are. I have a real problem with that. And, you know, if you are thinking about liquor down the line, you know, I think you need to, even if you don't do it now, you need to be thinking about that. And so I have those are all my real concerns. And the other concern, of course, is the age of the children on the tracks. You know, it was brought up earlier that you've got, you know, 7-year-olds, 8 years old, 9 years old, and then you've got kids that are 16. You know, I would be very concerned to have my 8-year-old granddaughter on that track with a 16 or 17-year-old. Not only that, but I know how 8-year-olds think. They go around and then they want to stop and they're going to go on to one of the other things that you have there. They're going to be hungry and they're going to want something to drink, and you haven't even considered that. And I think that's really short-sighted.
All right, well, I'll go in order. As far as the food for the banquet events, I want to clarify that right at this point, we're not asking for a liquor permit, but I will address the question since it was asked. One of the fortunate things about being affiliated with Garden Fresh Market is we have a lot of experience with catering. Not only do we have experience with catering, but we have experience catering for kosher events. Now, the distinction is when you have a kosher event, you can't prepare the food in a kitchen that's not observed by a rabbi. And
right.
We do this all the time, and we have a lot of experience with handling food at safe temperatures and remote sites for events well over 100 people. So when the time comes, if we do decide to apply for the permit, we can address that more in detail. But fortunately, we're the right company that has the experience on being able to do really high quality remote catering, off-site, and for large events.
But you're talking only about events, and I'm not talking about events. I'm talking about the day-to-day people coming in.
The day-to-day, right. You mentioned about people getting a little hungry, being thirsty. We do have space for vending in the drawing, which is included. It is indicated in the drawing. We will have vending machines. People can have a snack. They can have some drinks. People aren't going to be famished unless they want to be. But no, we have provided the area for vending. So that is something that we have addressed.
As far as the lighting, I heard of a lot of things like probably, maybe, would be, and I'm not happy with those kinds of answers personally. I want to know that the lighting is there before I would feel comfortable approving this. Your parking lot in Mundelein was just by there. And it appears, and I may be incorrect, it appears bigger than yours. And if this is successful, as I believe it will be, you're going to be short on parking. And I heard you say that, you thought maybe you had cross-access, acceptance from your neighbors. I would like to know that you have that. I'm a little concerned about, a number of these issues yet. So, that's my own personal feeling, especially about the security. I hope the trustees will address that because I don't think that's under our umbrella. That's all I have. Thank you.
As far as Dave and Buster's, is there something specific about Dave and Buster's? Because with children's safety, we do have the experience at Party Fantasy. We know the number of kids that are coming in supervised. We know that when the supervisor is leaving the building, they need to have a certain number of kids, and we do utilize wristbands. All of the access is passing through the front of the building, and in which case they have to pass through staff. So we keep track of everyone who's coming in, and especially of those who are going out of the building. As far as the lighting goes, there is no maybe. There is no maybe. The parking lot will be adequately lit, to fit the new use of the building. There is no maybe. It will get done and it will be adequately lit. Otherwise, we won't be able to open for business.
Well, I would feel more comfortable seeing it. That's just, and as far as David Buster's, I would suggest that maybe you give them a call and find out what kind of security they use. I'm not a security person.
My familiarity with Dave & Buster's, and maybe it's because I live in the city, so for me, Dave & Buster's is a much older crowd, much 20s and 30s. This is a different market.
But young people do go there. parents take their children.
Right.
there,
I
so-
just want to ask specifically what it was about Dave and
Just the
Buster's.
security, I understand the security is much tighter as far as children being in the building separated from the parents. That was the information I was given.
Okay,
So you'd have to check with them.
okay.
That's all I have, thank you.
Commissioner Burns.
Thanks. A lot of the questions I was going to ask have been asked, but let me go over one at least that was already asked by Commissioner Schaaf. He was concerned about the go-karts and the fact that you said they're capable of about 30 miles an hour. Is it similar in Mundelein, in the facility you're running there?
On Mundelein, they're driving on a carpeted track, and they're smaller go-karts, so they're not as capable. The go-karts that we are looking at are a much more sophisticated go-kart. The ones we have in Mundelein are made in China. They break down a lot, and they're not reliable machines. The go-karts that we propose to purchase, I believe, are manufactured in France. They're much nicer, much more reliable machine. But they also allow us a lot heavier. They allow us more capabilities, such as the remote remote control and the governing. Also in Mundelein, the track is much smaller, much smaller.
But the carts specifically then are slower. They don't go as
Yes.
fast as the ones you're planning
Correct.
to use here. Okay. The separation at the track in Mundelein, is it the same polyethylene sandwich?
The track
so
we have in
advertising?
Mundelein is more like the plastic barrier that we have on the exterior walls.
Mm-hmm.
And that is supported with a metal,
Posts?
a short 4-inch post that's bolted into the ground.
Okay. I was just kind of wondering, with tires in the middle of the polyethylene sheets, what a mess that'll be with the kids throwing their empty, pop bottles and other sort of junk in there if it wasn't covered, but I guess you'll work that out.
Well, our experience from Garden Fresh is that people like a clean operation. You can tell how someone runs their business by going to the bathroom. If you don't have a clean business, people aren't going to come.
Especially a grocery store.
Yes.
Well, okay, thank you. And those are my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Couple of questions. To your hours of operation, you say you might start earlier. Then why don't we just make the hours 8 a.m. to midnight instead of screwing around? Because
10 a.m. is adequate for us.
No, what I'm getting at is we're putting you in a corner by saying you can't open until 10 o'clock, but you say you want to open earlier. So I'm giving you the leeway. You don't have to open at 8 o'clock, but I think doing it that way, you get the leeway to open early if you choose to, and you're not going to stay open until midnight every time, so you have that range. As a matter of fact, I guess, Andrew, the question I have is, do we need hours at all?
You don't need hours.
My guess is that the commission as a whole would probably want hours.
Or at least a limit on how late.
How late? Yeah, see, I guess that would be my take, is the lateness versus early. I mean, it's a light industrial area. I'm not certain that we know, but I'm just trying to give you the flexibility to say, well, we might open early sometimes, so let's have the hours 8 a.m. to midnight. Then you never have to worry about coming back here again to change that, because this is going to be part of the special use.
10 a.m. is adequate for us.
Okay. Then your statement, your write-up says we might open up earlier sometime. Well, what's earlier?
Oh, well, just like it was with the evening hours where we mentioned we would have extended hours, but the we misworded that because that didn't mean we want to go past 12 a.m. We don't need, in fact, our standard opening time will be 11 a.m. So having 10 a.m. as the listed hours is
Okay.
adequate.
Okay, that's fine then, okay.
And in the summer, that's maybe when we would go to 10 a.m. So that would be the
So you're saying you would
extended
never
hours.
open earlier than 10?
No.
Okay, great. Andrew, in the, do we have a description of the receptacle area that it's going to be constructed of cedar?
It's on the plan, and the plan is now referenced in the motion.
Okay, great. Okay. Why don't you right now, because I've got a number of things that I want to go through over with the Plan Commission, but why don't you describe the signage that you're going to have on the building?
We are going to incorporate the Party Fantasy logo. Currently, we have a fluorescent sign with the acrylic, I believe it's acrylic, with the acrylic frame. We're looking at a similar sign with the Party Fantasy logo of a similar size, but we're also looking at an alternate, which is to have a completely acrylic sign with 2 spotlights facing the building. Now, we haven't made a decision on it. Yes, we need to consider the cost. We need to consider the zoning. If we have to get a variation for the fully acrylic sign, then we'll just stick with the fluorescent sign as we currently have.
Okay, then here's my suggestion. There, make your decision and then come back to us. Because we can't have 2 decisions, 2 types of signs. So either you make a decision now saying you're going to go with something, or come back to us and say, here's what we're going to really do, because right at this point in time, we don't know what we're doing.
I appreciate the opportunity. We'll take the fluorescent sign.
Okay.
The sign drawing as shown does not seem to match that description, though.
No.
So what I would suggest, we can view the sign basically as conceptual.
Yes.
What I'd suggest is have your sign company update it to match what you want, bring it back. There's no urgency as far as the sign review. It's not a public hearing. We can.
And it could be, a consent item, so you wouldn't even have to show up.
Right, and I apologize that I'm not as prepared to address that item. We didn't discuss it in the last meeting. I didn't know that this was going to be a topic brought up tonight.
Okay, so we
So
can,
let's treat it as just a conceptual image of what the sign would look like, table it, and then
Right.
talk to your sign.
Thank
company.
you.
yep, that'll be easy to do. Okay, how many employees are you going to have?
At any given time, there will be about 8 to 10 employees. Total, as far as payroll enrollment, will be about 20 to 30, a mixture of part-time and full-time.
Okay, good. Okay. So there were a number of items that were discussed here, and let's start with, well, none of them are easy, but we talked about, I'll do them in the order that they were mentioned. We talked about putting governors on the cars, okay? So I'm going to take a poll to see if that's something that is necessary. Now, Commissioner Dorban, I know that sort of ties into the age, you're concerned about the age and kids jumping into those. So what I'm going to ask, though, is do we need them to actually put governors on the car to set them to a specific speed? And what is that speed then? Is it 20? Is it 25? So,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
I believe the petitioner stated they were going to govern it to 25.
to 25. That's the highest they can go, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the max that we would go.
So is there any need to make it lower? Let's put it that way. Is there any need to make these machines go at a slower speed? Commissioner Burns?
I'm going to say no, but the truth is, I have no frame of reference here. I don't know what's too fast for an indoor go-kart track or not.
Yeah. Commissioner Dorban?
Well, when you think about 25 miles an hour as you're driving somewhere, I would have to say, yes, it should be lower.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
The governing, is that something that is easily adjustable?
Yes.
With that remote? I mean,
Yes.
Can you actually control, like, if younger kids are in the next heat, you can set those cars for
We'd be open
15?
to, we would be open to do that. And as we mentioned in the prior meeting, that the heats would be separated by age.
Right.
But we would be open to an age limiting, to governing,
You know, the
limiting.
older kids aren't going to want a car that's doing 15.
Right.
They're not going to come back for that. But if it's something that you can easily adjust before the heat starts, then, you know, I would suggest lower for the younger kids.
Okay, so that changes the dynamic a little bit,
Yeah.
but let's go on. Commissioner Powers, what's your feeling on governing?
As long as the cars can be governed, that would be fine with me.
Okay, and Commissioner Schaaf, I know what you're...
And as I brought that up, and it was for the lower age, you know, the younger kids, if you set that rule, that anybody under 15 or under 16 is governed at 15 miles an hour, that satisfies me. And if it's easily done, I don't know how you would put that in as a condition, but I would like to see something like that. So I do believe they need to be governed.
I'm of the opinion that we really don't need it, but I think if we can, and I'm not sure it's our area, but you mentioned separate heats for ages, so maybe that's the condition that we have, that the heats are age-based, and that the lower ages okay, so are we setting an age now too? You can't do this if you're, see,
That's beyond our scope, I think.
well, but, okay, but we're saying that we want a heat by age. He needs help here. So,
Mr. Moore, have you talked to any of the other similar businesses in this area?
Yeah, that's where we get the 25 mile per hour guideline from.
Do they run separate heats for children?
Yes.
that are Different?
Yes,
rates?
based on height, 48 inches is kind of the guideline that they use.
And do they govern the speed on those?
No.
heats?
well, I'm of the opinion that they don't need governing. Commissioner Burns said they do. No, you don't. You said you didn't think so. Commissioner Dorban said they did. Commissioner,
I'd have to leave it up to the petitioner, you know, without driving the track yourself and
So you're saying
having
no.
something to reference, I would say no. You know, they're going to find out if kids are running into the walls a
so
lot.
Commissioner Powers,
Yeah, I'll have to go with what Commissioner Johnson just
okay,
said.
so, and Commissioner Schaaf, we know you want that, so it's 4-2, no governing at all. But we would like to see,
Other than what
Right.
you...
We're going to govern.
right.
If you're calling more than one ambulance per day,
Right, exactly.
you might want to slow them down.
Okay, the next item that we talked about was the fire department memo. Can we incorporate this, the whole memo, into the conditions, or would you like to see some of these things broken out, such as the bike racks, marking of the spot where the fire department connection is? I think those were the two main ones. Though, Ron, I did have a question about A. The previous site plan did not show the parking spots in the northwest corner of the parking lot, but a site visit found that there are existing parking spots there. Yep. Okay. Parking spot shown adjacent to trash enclosure would be more than likely provide a conflict for accessing the parking spots to the northwest corner of the parking lot. Is this a fire code issue, or is it just saying, hey, where you're putting that is not, you're going to lose spots?
Realistically, it would be an engineering issue, traffic engineer. But then when I'm looking at those dimensions and having dealt with parking garages and things like that, it doesn't appear that there's enough space to properly maneuver. Although the drawing that I seen this evening, it looks like the one parking spot adjacent to the trash enclosure has been removed. So that changes that dynamic of being able to pull into that parking space. I mean, as an example, if you just take the sight line of, the existing parking spots to the bottom of the drawing, since I don't have a reference, take it straight up as a line. You know how when you've got aisles on both sides, you know how much space you need to get in and out of the space. And before, it was pretty much with that one parking space to the side of the dumpster, it was over the center line of that roadway going up there. So to sit there and make that swing with the vehicle to get in there to that last parking spot or the last two parking spots, I think it would have been difficult.
Okay, but based upon this, it seems to...
It changes that dynamic, and it looks like it goes away, yes.
Okay, all right, great. So consensus here, Mr. Burns, Commissioner Burns, can we incorporate this memo into the conditions?
Yeah, I refer to the memo and all applicable fire codes.
Okay, great.
Or codes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers?
Yes.
And Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Okay, great. So that takes care of that one. Okay, moving right along. There was, I think Commissioner Powers brought up the mention of liquor and conceivably being put into this ordinance or this special use. Me personally, and I'll state how I feel about it, and then I'll take a consensus here, is that it's not germane to this special use. It's not something that he's going to be doing anytime soon. He's got to come back. He wouldn't come back before us. He would go to the Liquor Commission for a liquor license, and I'm not certain what a mention of a potential liquor license in this special use, I don't know if that would make a difference. Commissioner Powers, if you could expound on that a little bit, so maybe we can get a better understanding of what you were looking for there.
I would just like something to be said that there is an intent to go for a potential liquor license in the future, just so the trustees are aware of, even if we don't put it in, for this particular docket. I mean, somewhere I think it should be stated that you are approving this with the possibility that in the future they may come back for a liquor license.
Except though, is that part of a special,
It's part of the operation. If you take the example of a restaurant, we don't necessarily always see the intent to sell alcohol with the original application. They do tend to go to the Liquor Commission after the fact. It does happen pretty regularly that there's a restaurant that opens for a period of a year and then decides that they'd like to add on-site sales. You have a special use in front of you that is not a restaurant, that has what I understand to be the highest likelihood of the sales would be related to parties, catering, which is a different type of liquor license anyway. So when they apply for a liquor license, it's going to be that specific type of liquor license. So it's up to the commission. If the commission would like some sort of indication that the liquor license associated with this particular special use be that type of license, you could mention it. But it would be up to the commission, and then ultimately the Liquor Control Commission has the final say on that.
Right. So, with that said, Commissioner Schaaf, were you going to say something? I wasn't sure if you were.
The liquor that we're talking about here, that also is being catered in, right? I mean, you're not stocking a bar.
Correct.
So if you had an event and they wanted to have a keg of beer along with the pizzas that they're bringing in, you're just providing a place. They're providing.
Well, that would be a scenario where I think the way you described it is more like a BYOB, and that's not the way we'd want to do it. If we were to apply for a liquor license, it would have to be us serving. We wouldn't. In other words, correct me if I'm wrong.
Couldn't the caterer be the server too? Provided they
Yes.
have their paperwork in order.
I just want to clarify that we weren't going to allow clients to bring outside liquor.
I didn't think so.
There is
termed that wrong.
no license in the village for that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so Commissioner Schaaf, mention of a potential liquor license in this special use?
I think that's an item for the Liquor Commission, so I don't believe it's necessary in this docket.
Commissioner Powers?
I'm going to say yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Commissioner Dorban?
I see no reason why it can't be mentioned. It's strictly a piece of information.
Okay. Though we do have facts. Commissioner Burns?
No.
And I say no also. So, okay. Now, the last three are a couple of the cross-access agreements and the parking. Okay. What you're saying here right now is that you're going to there is no variation here for parking, because we really don't know. We don't know what, this is a new use. So special use is for what parking you have, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you're not asking for any other additional parking.
Other than the 16 spots that are drawn in at this point, we're not
But
asking
that's on
for
your
additional.
property, that's on your property,
Correct.
so whatever, okay. Speaking of that, I'm diverting a little bit here, is there a potential to put any type of signage for those 8 spots there that say employee parking only? So you then have that out of the way for the customers. So to the cross-access agreement, what I'm hearing you say is that when the need comes across, you're going to go and get cross-access agreements. But right now, you're going to live within what the special use is.
Correct. Right now, as the property lies with including the 16 additional spots, we don't feel the need for a cross easement is necessary. Should the village determine that it is necessary, then of course we'll reach out to our neighbors, which we have very good relationships with, and we will figure out a cross easement arrangement. But we're confident with the way the property is designed that that will not be necessary.
Andrew, can you, what are the, I want to say, what could be the potential issues there, if any?
Well, there's the way the staff report and suggested motion treat this right now. We've got the parking essentially setting the capacity, and we've calculated it 2 ways based on sort of a banquet type use. Should that happen, what capacity of a banquet use would be potentially parkable on the lot. We've also calculated with a estimate of use of the different areas as a non-banquet. So as it would be on a daily basis, party rooms, go-kart area, inflatables, etc. Both of those numbers are accommodated and parked for with the 210 patron and 15 employee limit discussed in the staff report. So what the staff suggestion is that if the business is able to obtain a parking agreement, they could increase the capacity once they provide that, provided that they also meet the exiting requirements of the fire department. But as it's written, both calculations, banquet style and regular operation, are accommodated.
Okay, so we're limiting the usage of this to 210 patrons and 15 employees, okay, based upon the existing parking that they have. They cannot increase that. It's all they can have. But if they get cross-access agreements, I'm basically saying the same thing, but if I'm saying it, then I can understand it a little bit better. So then, if they get cross-access agreements, they then can come to us and increase the number of customers that are allowed in there. So the maximum right now is 210 plus 15. Okay? They need any more, they have to get cross-access agreements, and then they've got to come back to us and go through it again because you need fire approval and all that. So based upon that, are we okay with the conditions the way they're read in the docket right now? Commissioner Burns.
Yeah, I'm okay with those. Andrew, I believe, has some to add based on the last hour's discussion.
Some to add.
Is there more conditions?
Oh yeah. I'm talking parking.
Parking.
I'm just talking
yes.
parking.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No, I know, we got a bunch. Commissioner Dorban.
I'm okay with parking.
Commissioner Johnson.
I'm okay with it.
Commissioner Powers.
I'm not okay with it.
Okay, Commissioner Schaaf.
I'm okay with it.
As am I. Okay, great. Okay, moving right along. Lighting. We have a number of questions about lighting, Andrew and Mr. Moore. So what can be solidly said about the lighting that will remove the doubt? Because there is some doubt here about that. We heard that the lighting, if the lighting increasing the, that's what, changing the actual lights in the front and the back will give adequate coverage for the front. But it seems that the side is the issue, and we're not sure that they need a pole in that corner. Is that what we're hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
If the commission would like a condition of approval written differently than what is proposed, it could be that during building permit review, a photometric plan shall be prepared indicating how the lighting will meet the minimum standard for recreational use. As I said, the lighting standard in the code is a table. It's got average light, minimum light, maximum light. So it's got a couple of different ways of looking at the lighting. So you're going from the bottom of that table up into the next level up. And when you go on the next level up, the average is higher, the minimum is higher. So to meet the average foot candle level and meet the minimum foot candle level, our preliminary review is your lighting designer is going to have to swap out the fixtures at minimum. So if the commission would be comfortable with something a little stronger, we could require a photometric plan showing how the foot candle levels are achieved.
And when would that photometric plan be needed?
Well, that's at the discretion of the commission at this point. It could be with the building permit, the way it's written right now is prior to occupancy, but if the preference would be something stronger, at building permit submittal is certainly stronger than that.
Okay, so what's on the table here right now is the photometric plan being required at, what did you just say?
Well, it's entirely up to the commission right now. So there's different ways. You could require it at building permit submittal. The way it's written right now is probably less strict. It's the way it's worded in the staff report is site lighting should meet the requirements of the zoning code with additional lighting to be required prior to occupancy if needed. The next level up of that would be something that relates specifically to the recreational use. You know, shall a lighting plan, photometric plan showing how the lighting meets the requirements of the recreational use
Yes.
shall be provided.
Okay, so I'm going to take a poll on that a photometric plan is required at permitting?
At building permit submittal.
At permit, right,
I have
submittal.
a clarification.
Yes,
It doesn't require the petitioner to come back to the planning commission. It just requires a photometric study that establishes that they're meeting the
Yes.
the lighting code.
exactly, that's what I'm trying, yes.
Okay.
So, Commissioner Burns?
Yes, I would like the photometric study done.
Yes. Commissioner Dorban?
Okay, I just want to make sure
No,
I'm saying.
that's why I'm asking
So
all
it
around.
means that the petitioner is not coming back, we're just requiring it, and staff will, in other words, they're not coming back to us with the photometrics, am I correct?
Correct, and it has to meet the requirements that are in the zoning code.
No, because that means we have an incomplete docket going to the trustees.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
I'm happy with the condition as it's written, number 8. That's,
Okay. It's not the question I asked.
so
The question
no.
I asked
No.
is, so no. Okay. So Commissioner Powers?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm confused as to what yes and no are.
Well, right now, what's on the table is that a photometric plan would be required at permitting time. Okay? Commissioner Dorban said no because it's an incomplete docket. Commissioner Johnson said no because he thought number 8 was fine. Okay, so that's 2 no's.
And I'm going to say no because I agree with Commissioner Dorman, it's incomplete, and I don't know, being new, I would expect us to have that already possibly, so we wouldn't be going through this.
And Commissioner Sheff?
No, because I think that's an integral part of the special use.
Okay.
So I vote no.
All right. So,
Might I have a word?
Well, then he's actually voting yes, that it's required.
yeah, no, he says that it's a, Commissioner Sheff, what are you?
It's not good enough just to have it for
Permitting.
getting the
The
permit.
staff,
Right.
oh,
So, right,
so you want him to come back?
yes, sir.
The reason we didn't put it is because of the great expense that it requires. Now, we don't have the approval for the variance, and I understand that the variance for the special use,
It's not a variance. Please remember, it's a special use,
thank you.
not a variance.
Okay, thank you. We don't have the approval for the special use, and it's a great expense. So that's why we held off on it at this point. We could spend a lot of money and get a photometric study done and show that it can be done and still not have the special use approved, and then we've lost thousands of dollars. And that's the reason why we haven't brought it forth. We felt that this would be covered under the building, but, respect the commission's decision. We just hope that it would be a little more business-oriented. It was a business decision, essentially, but we respect the commission's vote.
at the last meeting, and let me tell you, I'll tell you how I would have voted. I would have said that requiring a photometric at permitting time would have been enough, but what I heard here is that that's not sufficient. Let me point out to you that at the last meeting, I think as a whole, we said that we were all generally in favor of this concept, okay? And in addition, we wanted photometrics. You did everything except photometrics, okay? And if you would have come in with a photometric plan, this would have gone through, okay? So I guess the question I have right now, are there any other questions about this docket that need to be answered?
The docket being the appearance docket
The site,
in special use.
the special use. No, okay. So, Andrew, why don't you read the conditions that we have right now?
The condition
Wait,
on-
before you say one more thing, just one more thing that you just mentioned about, I think you used the term business friendly. We're trying to be as business friendly as possible. But when we ask for something, we're not up here just for the sake of being up here. We're doing this for the village and what we think is right. So please don't say that, because that's
I apologize.
No,
What I-
it's not our intention to hold back anybody. We're trying to get this through as possible, but we ask for specific things, and that's, as a whole, what the village board wanted. So
I apologize, that's our fault. My interpretation at the time, which was false, was that the standards, photometric standards being used would be, my understanding was that the current zoning of the building, that the photometrics as they were designed wouldn't be adequate. As far as presenting with the formal plan, then, I apologize if I've wasted the commission's time.
no, you're not wasting your time.
I thought it
You're
was-
wasting your time, because if we would have had the stuff here, we would have probably.
Right.
But
I
that
just
hasn't
thought
been
that the
decided yet.
emphasis in the last meeting was that the photometrics as they exist with the old use were not adequate.
Right.
I didn't, we didn't digest the gravity of the report.
Okay. One other thing before you go to your conditions, and Commissioner Dorban, I apologize for not bringing this up. You mentioned security. Commissioner Dorban brought up a couple of points about young children. You mentioned, I think you were alluding to parties where they use a wristband, okay? And there you have an employee that has a number of kids that go in, and those that same number should go out. I think, and I'm speaking for you, Commissioner Dorban, but I think the concern that she had is that if she brought in her granddaughter and a bunch of her granddaughter's friends, okay, do you apply that same type of security to them as you would for a party? So would they have wristbands? Am I going down the right path? So would they have wristbands as they're coming in to ensure that the three kids that came in with Commissioner Dorban were three kids that came out?
Yes.
Okay.
So if an adult is, if 5 children are accompanied with an adult, we know that that adult, well, everyone has to sign waivers before entering any of the play areas, and we have a document knowing who's with, which children are with adult. If there's drop-off scenarios, pickup scenarios, let's say, where two of the kids are siblings and their mother's picking them up, the supervising parent or guardian, has to acknowledge with the staff, and that's why they have to pass through the front door. They have to pass through staff before the children can exit.
Okay, all right. Any other comments, Commissioner Dorban?
I just think that, I would hope that the trustees would, I think it falls under their umbrella, that they talk with the police department, is this the best means of protecting children? In this day and age, we need to do that. And that's my concern. And that's all I'm saying, is that I would like to see, at least alert the trustees to the fact that, I want to see that, ask them if they would look into and make sure that this is the best secure situation for children. That's all.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure if we add that as a...
Having seen a couple of child-related items, I don't know if you recall the Nibbles Play Cafe.
Yes.
There were similar concerns for that, and the commission at that time, I believe, did include some type of suggestion that some sort of safety plan be submitted. I don't remember the exact wording of it. It came up during the hearing. They had indicated there'd be a gate. They went through the details of their system. So
I don't want a child missing from the village of Wheeling. That's all.
That's a good point.
I guess that's my only fear.
Trying to think of what we could do.
I think just as...
And it's as simple as asking the trustees if they feel it's necessary. I'm not, all I'm saying is I would like to alert the trustees and ask them if they think it's necessary to talk with the police department and see if it's necessary to review their safety plan to make sure children are safe. I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that it's, you have an unusual use. There's nothing exactly like it. I don't think that it's out of the purview of the commission to suggest through a condition that the petitioner submit a security plan for review.
Great, okay. Are you okay with that, Commissioner?
Yes, my question was back to photometric studies.
Okay, can I finish this one first? Are you okay with what we're going to do with security?
Yes.
Right, Commissioner Dorban, I know, and if you say no, I'm going to really be mad. Commissioner Johnson?
Fine.
Okay, Commissioner Powers?
I'm fine.
Commissioner Schaaf?
I'm okay.
Okay, so am I. So it's just really a condition around security and reviewing that and push that up toward with the trustees and police department to see if that needs further evaluation. Okay.
Sure. We have a handbook, and some of those issues are addressed in there. We could either submit the entire handbook or the portion related to security.
Okay. Great. Okay. Commissioner Burns, photometrics.
Yes. Question, Andrew. When a developer comes in with a new project and they're going to put up a new warehouse on Capitol Drive, is part of their paperwork a photometric study? Is that required?
For a new building, it would be a photometric plan. It would be required for a new construction. For whatever
Before it's approved by the Plan Commission?
Before we've had maybe one or two that they submitted as a design build, and they indicated which fixture they would use. They did not provide a photometric plan, but they said this is what we're going to use, and we have a different company that's going to design the system for it. But it would be on a new building submitted with the architectural plans that the commission receives.
So they spend the money to get a photometric before they get approval, even from the Plan Commission. Recently, Starbucks was before us. Let's use them for an example. Now they're going back to a restaurant from what they had been a woman's health clinic, and we're interested in the lighting around the building. They didn't submit a photometric survey to us before we approved them.
That's correct.
It doesn't seem unreasonable to me that a petitioner doesn't want to spend thousands of dollars before that they know they're going to get a green light on the project in the first place. If we had a condition that said to a petitioner, you realize you're not going to be allowed to occupy this Party Fantasy building until a photometric study has been received and approved. You're getting conditional approval, in other words. I think we get to the same place. We get our photometric study, but we don't ask a petitioner to gamble thousands of dollars on the study before the project actually is green lighted. Those are my comments.
Might I add something?
Yes.
This is the note as I've received from the village regarding the photometrics. Village staff should review the existing photometrics for the site to determine if additional lighting will be needed to accommodate customer and staff parking. We've accomplished this, and we've agreed with staff that additional lighting will be needed to accommodate the customer and staff parking. From the village, it might have been in the meeting last week, a couple weeks ago. I don't recall it. I'm very well could be wrong. The note I have from the village doesn't mention the photometric study.
Well, I know that we asked for it, and if it didn't convey that way, then I think it didn't get conveyed that way. I guess.
Can I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
What the staff interpretation of the study in this case was done by staff. By study, we studied the photometrics. I was not at the last meeting. I don't know. I can't tell you exactly how it was phrased, but if it was phrased as study, that is something that we did somewhat as a courtesy. We added, we probably spent a few minutes. Doing a photometric plan is beyond our capacity. Right. I am not able to do that. It is thousands of dollars. A design professional, they take into account the existing lighting, what's proposed, and it is an expensive thing. What we did, I would classify as a study. We determined based on our study, which is not a photometric plan, we did a study of the photometric specs for that fixture at that height with that wattage as they're spaced out on this building. And that's what we came up with.
Sure.
But not a photometric plan from that sense. So if that's the way it was worded, then that is what staff kind of bridged the gap for that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the petitioner is correct in that the commission asked for the review. If the review had come that it was adequate, nothing would have come of it. But the review says it is not adequate. My question is, how are you going to make it adequate? Those are the plans that we want to see. That has to be part of your docket because that is part of the special use. That's my thinking. Thank you.
Okay.
I would agree with that. There's no question, Matt, there's no question that we do need to do some sort of study, and most certainly, no doubt, we need to improve, upgrade, and increase the lighting in the parking lot. That I agree with you, 100%. As far as once we start adding lighting and we don't have the building permit involved, then we're doing a plan in front of the Plan Commission without consideration electrical loads, without getting a holistic view, because we also have to have battery chargers in the building. We're going to have an arcade in the building. We're going to have inflatables in the building. And I think it would be best served for the village if it was all done during permitting so we could see how the overall electrical load was going to affect the building.
I think you missed it. Okay. What I'm saying is, if your intention in the lighting is just to replace the bulbs, that and you feel that that's going to make it, then then that should be part of the docket. Because then if at time of occupancy, if it doesn't make it, they're not going to give you the occupancy permit. What I'm asking for is what is your plan to make that area such that we approve the special use, and that special use includes the lighting. Does that make sense, Mr. Chairman?
It does. I understand where you're coming from. I'm still of the opinion that if we have that before permitting, that will suffice as to what we're trying to do here. Commissioner Burns brings up a good point that we're not very consistent on what we ask for in our photometric plans. Now this, I mean, a restaurant still has people around to chew. This is a new use that we're definitely not sure of. So what I'm going to suggest is, Andrew, why don't you read the conditions that we have right now?
I did knock one out that was directly noted on the plan. The cedar fence is on the plan. I swapped that out. So they aren't numbered exactly the same anymore. So as it's drafted right now, number one, the petitioner agrees to maintain a shared stormwater detention pond on the subject property unless and until a new maintenance agreement is recorded. Just got a quick typo there, sorry. Number two, business shall be closed to the public during large events, 80 or more guests. Number three, maximum capacity of the facility shall be 210 patrons and 15 employees. Four, should the petitioner submit a parking agreement for off-site parking, capacity may be increased provided the fire department confirms that the exiting requirements are satisfied. Number five, parking lot shall be repaired, seal-coated, and restriped. Number six, locations of the play stations may be modified as needed, provided they meet all required zoning, building, and life safety codes. Let's see, maybe misnumbered there. I have number seven then. Petitioner shall provide a photometric plan that meets the zoning code standard for site lighting for recreational use prior to building permit issuance. Number eight, that the willow tree shall be trimmed. Is that specific enough? Is there more than one willow tree?
No.
Or is there one?
It's just the one on the north property line.
Okay. Number nine, go-kart shall be electric only. Number 10, the petitioner shall address comments listed in the fire department memo dated April 11th, 2013. Number 11, that the business may be open between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 a.m. Number 12, petitioner shall submit a security child safety plan for village review. Again, noting that the motion has been updated to reference the 3 new documents.
Did you mention the trash enclosure?
I took it off because the new plan
Okay.
had
Okay, great.
addressed that one.
And then you said the photometrics, okay. What options do we have? Can we take a 5-minute break? All in favor? Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Andrew, can I talk to you?
I'd like to amend a condition, Andrew.
Anybody got a bottle of water down there they're not using?
Yeah, there's
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, wonderful, thank you.
Oh, he's got the later.
Yeah.
Back to order. Mr. Moore, I'm giving you two options here. One, I will take a vote for a table, and you come back with us to tell us what the photometrics will be. Or two, you request a vote on this site plan, and whatever that vote is, you take it to the village, and it will go to the village based upon whatever the vote is, in favor or against. And then you are, I don't want to say at the mercy of the village, but the village, there could be a chance that the village will say, no, you've got to go back because you don't have enough you don't have the information that we want. So those are the two options I'm giving you right now.
When photometrics are added, if I get a vote for yes and am I allowed at that point to add additional lighting to the plan, or is the plan at that point set in stone?
We have conditions here that say, a condition, if we vote on this right now, we have a condition that says that you have to have a photometric plan before building permit.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So that means that you can change, you can add or whatever based upon the photometrics. Okay? Or you table it, or we table it and you come back with the photometrics satisfying what the lighting needs are. Am I saying that's sufficient?
Can we read the condition again on the photometrics?
Petitioner shall provide a photometric plan that meets the zoning code standard for site lighting for a recreational use prior to building permit issuance.
That wasn't the one that you read previous,
Yeah, it was. It was, yep,
was it?
Yep, exact same one.
Because I don't remember those last few words.
Yes, yeah, it was the exact same one. That's why we were trying to get it in there. So,
Okay.
It wasn't read before we polled on whether or not we wanted a photometric plan.
Yes, the staff report version of the condition
Was different.
was different, right? But then we added that the photometrics would be required before building permit.
So if we table, we would come back at the next time when we can get put on the agenda.
Right.
And if we vote, or if we vote and it's rejected, then what happens at that point?
You take this and you go to the village board with the votes that we have, and they can make a decision to override it. They can make a decision to approve it based upon the conditions that we have. And then you go on your merry way and get your permit, get everything moving.
So if it got, just so I understand, if the vote comes out no, then it would still go to the board?
Yes.
At that point, well, then I think it's obvious that I would like to request a vote. In either scenario, we'll be providing the photometrics.
Okay.
So I would like to request the vote.
Okay. So we have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, a second by
Commissioner
Commissioner
Burns.
Burns. Mr. Secretary, could you take roll, please?
Motion was made by me. I vote yes. Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband.
No.
Commissioner Powers.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaff.
No.
Commissioner Steilen is absent. Chairman Rafato.
Yes.
4 yes, 2 no, 1 absent.
We need a motion to close.
So it passed. So we need a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
We'll have a copy of this for you to sign.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Good luck. When do you think you're going to open? If
Thank you.
it's got to go before the village. Now, remember, we're only a recommending board,
Correct.
so this vote, this information goes to the village board, and they will have a say in this. So we're only recommending. It could come back to us again. Just be aware of that. Okay?
I'm aware of that, and you guys are going to be proud of us.
Okay, great. So anyway, when do you anticipate opening if everything goes smoothly.
Hopefully we can open in July.
Great.
Excuse me, did we vote, we didn't vote on the sign.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. We have to.
Suggested a table.
We have to table.
That's tabled?
Let's,
We have
we
to,
suggested a table.
Yes.
So our motion to table the, what was that, SCBA? Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, so moved. The table,
13-8.
the sign.
Second to table.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
I'm in favor as well.
Because we need more information than just
Right.
that.
Right, I wasn't prepared for that, and,
Right.
yeah, thank you.
She'll have something for you to sign.
Did all of the conditions make it onto a single sheet?
Yes. So cold in here. My God.
What's your jacket?
Oh, no. I'm fine.
I had an occasion to go into Save Mart.
I do too. Was it good? Good produce.
I don't do. I don't produce. I eat what my wife likes. She likes produce.
Okay, moving along, approval of the minutes for March 14th.
I have a question.
Yes,
On the March 21st minutes, item number 8, it said Commissioner Schaff and Johnson
is that
abstained.
the, I'm sorry, Commissioner Powers, is that the 21st or the 14th you're asking?
21st.
Okay, can we
Oh,
go?
I'm sorry.
Can we go in order?
I have a correction on the 14th.
Okay,
I do also.
Page 1, item 1, it says Chairman Rafato called the meeting to order, but you were absent.
And I have one on page 2. It's the, I don't know, about 3/4, oh, more than that. It says Commissioner Dorban moved, seconded by Commissioner, it's just a typo, it should say Burns.
Same one.
okay, so that's the regular meeting for the 14th.
That was the facts and findings.
Okay, facts and findings, which, we don't approve facts and findings, right? No.
But it should be changed.
It should be changed, right,
correct.
and we got that one, yep. I just wasn't sure if we needed to vote on that one. So vote on the 14th, all those in favor?
With those
Is the
corrections.
motion
Those
made?
corrections.
There's no motion yet.
I just made a motion.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain on the 14th. Moving to the 21st,
No, item number 8 said Commissioner Schaff and Johnson abstained. I abstained because that pertained to a meeting where I was not a commissioner yet.
We didn't, this is the 21st.
Well, item number 8 refers to a meeting on, I think it was back,
What page was that one?
I don't know, let me see.
Does it say on the bottom?
It was page 43 of
205.
69, unless I interpreted that wrong.
Page 2 of 5 of those minutes, the March 21st minutes.
Thank you.
March 21, you were here.
any other corrections on the 21st? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. On March 28th,
Motion to approve.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Other business, Mr. Jennings, any other business for you right now?
Have one item, scheduling item. Well, two scheduling items. We sent out a notice of cancellation for next week. The planning staff is going to be at a conference next week. We will meet next on April 25th.
Okay, great.
There's also a tentative joint meeting of the Planning Commission and Board scheduled for May 30th, which is a Thursday. It's the 5th Thursday in May. We should have confirmation of that in the near future, but if you could just take a look at your calendars and pencil it in for now.
May 30th, you said?
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I couldn't hear you down here.
May 30th
Pardon me?
is a joint meeting. May 30th is a joint meeting with the village board.
May 30th.
Yes, it's the 5th Thursday. Is that it?
That is it for me.
Okay, great. Other business, Commissioner Burns.
Nothing.
Commissioner Dorban,
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
Has everybody seen the Creekside signs that went up?
No.
Yeah, they've been up for a couple weeks now. I forgot to mention it last time, but
They look
they look
nice.
pretty nice, yeah. Much better than what they had intended.
Cool. Good.
That's it.
Commissioner Powers.
Yeah, the only thing I have is I will not be here the next meeting on
Okay.
the 25th. That's it.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes, sir.
Anything?
Yeah. The last docket, when he was, not happy with the photometrics. And the reason I had Andrew review it was I thought that that we had asked for the photometrics prior to sending it to the board. And that I would have approved because, and then he could have taken that to the board and suffered the, and asked, and not provided the photometrics and said, I choose not to do that because of the expense and whatever reason he wants to give. And the board could have then said, okay, you can go ahead or no, you can't. Now, we did this with Starbucks. We said, we want to be able to see the floor plan before it goes to the board. And not only did he not provide that before, he provided it the day of the meeting. It wasn't even in the packet. And that's what blew Trustee Brady's mind. And I think that as soon as the village manager stood up and said there were drawings in the packet or provided before, at the time of the meeting that were not part of it, I think the trustee should have sent it back to us.
I agree.
I mean, granted, we're just a recommending body. And that's why I really thought that it was, that the photometrics were before the building permit. Because I thought the consensus was we wanted that as part of the condition.
For this one tonight?
For this one tonight. Because the prior one, the Starbucks, we went ahead and proved that, and the guy says, I'm not going to do that. And so he just went ahead and went right before the board.
And I'd like to piggyback on what Norm's saying, that I think that we need to make complete dockets before they get sent to the trustees. And if we don't, then the trustees need to send it back to us. But I think we've done it, we're not consistent. And I agree with our chairman that we're not consistent. We need to be consistent. And our responsibility is to send them complete dockets. I mean, we've done this over and over again, trying to be business friendly or trying to move things more quickly, and in the end, it's come back and bite us. And here we are, here's another situation. Now we're going to send this to the trustees and let's see if it comes back. I just have become, you know, after Trustee Brady's comments, you know, pretty much slapping our hand. I think he was right. And I have to admit, it was, as one of the more senior members of this commission, that I should have done a better job and I didn't. And that's, I hope I will correct that. I've learned by my mistake, and I hope I will correct it in the future.
And again, to that point, and I'll keep on reiterating it, and I'm going to try to do this. If there's a question, then in this case, specifically this case, we had opportunity for the photometrics, and we put a condition in saying that the photometrics would be required at building permitting time. Okay, so I gave the option to everybody to either say yes or no to that plan, and I'll continue to do that. And I don't want anybody, again, I'll say it again, I don't want anybody to think that I will push anything through that the village, the plan commission as a whole doesn't want. But I will always take a consensus. And
That's
the
fine.
consensus says,
But wasn't the consensus to the point where we said no to the photometrics at building permit time? I thought that that's what was the consensus. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misread that.
the condition right now that was approved 4-2, petitioner shall provide a photometric plan that meets the zoning code standard for site lighting for a recreational use prior to building permit issuance.
But
Correct,
the building
but-
permit issue comes after it's been approved by the trustees.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly
so-
right. You're exactly right.
So it means that we just sent an incomplete docket to the trustees.
But the question is, then what we have to look at, and maybe this is a discussion item, if we have a special use, should we require a photometric as part of the packet?
Well, first of all, this is new territory for all of us.
Right.
You know, we've not had a situation like this. This is a whole learning curve for all of us. But this isn't the end. This isn't the only one we're ever going to have. We have set a dangerous precedent now, I believe, in my own heart, that we have set a precedent now that we will allow these things to go through. Now, we have to do a couple of things. We have to find out from the trustees, do we rewrite the code when something like this changes, or are they okay with it? Because we have now said, we'll accept this on this, but this is new territory, and I think I personally need a little more direction from the trustees if this is acceptable, and B, do we need to rewrite our codes and set some guidelines about what happens when we do something like this and change the use? I think I think we just need to be better informed, and I think we need to do our job better in a case like this.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I see significant differences in the floor plan issue with Starbucks and the lighting plan issue with Party Fantasy. The floor plan that Starbucks presented us with did not agree with the site elevations and with the site plan. It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Tonight we didn't approve a plan without a photometric plan because we said as a condition of our recommending approval, or not, we could have voted it down. As a condition, it's going to the board, you will have that photometric plan before a permit is issued. So we didn't just send it on, we sent it on with a condition. That took care of the photometric issue for me.
No, because you're sending it on, saying that it won't be approved at the time of the permit. But our job is to send a complete docket finished with a pretty bow on the top to the trustees. So, you know, so that they don't get the petitioner there and then they say, well, you didn't get the photometrics, send it back to the Plan Commission. Now we're really not being business friendly. So,
Well, but again, though, we asked the petitioner what option he wanted to take, to table it or take his chances with the village board. And the village board, if he sends it back, he's the one that is, the petitioner is then saying, okay, I blew that one. It's going to take me another month to get going. So instead of July, it'll be August or September. We have to give them that option to do that.
I don't disagree with
Right.
that. But I just think that when we ask a petitioner for the photometrics, that we should have gotten it. So, I mean,
Well,
that
again, now that is a different topic, because if he read if what he read was what he was given, then there was a miscommunication on our part. I honestly thought that we were pretty clear on requesting a photometric, and I know that Mr. Jennings and Ms. Brooke had Ms. Jones. I want to say our Ms. Brooks.
Yeah.
That's why I always, being old that I am.
She probably doesn't know that.
She probably doesn't. Anyway, Ms. Jones, you know, so they've got a couple emails this week asking about that. So I think we were all under that, and maybe we need to be clear to staff to say this is what we really want. You know, it's incumbent upon us. I think we're working through some of these, but in reality, is a photometric plan required?
How often do we get
How
them
often?
on special uses?
But-
Very rare, I would think.
Yeah, very rare.
Okay, what we asked for was for staff to review the existing photometrics.
Okay, so
And
then,
that's
based
what they
upon
did.
that, you, Commissioner Schaaf, shouldn't have said anything because that's what they did.
Exactly, but what he said, the review stated that it was inadequate. The lighting was inadequate.
Yes.
Okay, now the petitioner then, in my mind, has got to say, okay, I will rectify that by, you know, putting in different bulbs and putting in, you know, and determine that. But, and that's what I was looking for. I wasn't looking for photometrics. What I was looking for was adequate lighting. Okay, and there was nothing in his docket that he said that he would provide that. Granted, we put a condition on, and I thought that the consensus was that he needed to bring the photometrics to us. And I would, if he would have brought the photometric and said, okay, I would have approved the docket by saying that he needed to provide the photometrics to the Plan Commission. He takes that to the board and he says, I choose not to fulfill that condition. Then it's up to the board to say, okay, we'll let it go by allowing you to do it before the building permit, or no, you have to go back to the Plan Commission.
Right.
That was, then, now the onus is on them and not us.
Right.
Okay, that's my thinking. The correlation to Starbucks was that he promised that he would have the elevation and the floor plan, and he just didn't do it. And I was under the impression that he would, where Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Burns said, no, we need that. And that flew right over me. I thought, well, Starbucks is they're gonna give it to us. And we'll have time to review that. But as I looked, that was not part of the conditions. and it should have been. That's, if I,
Well, we just have to continue as a board to continue to be focused on this, and I think we are. You know, we are,
getting better?
well, I don't think we were bad. It's just that I think with experience, you know, experience helps. And I'm promoting I'm promoting the stance of questioning the dockets, questioning the packets, and as a board, if we question it, we send them out. And we tell them to come back. You know, that's what we have to do. I don't think that was our practice for the last couple of years. I think we were trying to push things through. Right or wrong, I don't think we've done anything wrong, but I think we just need to question it more. So, okay, great. I think I'm the last one. I have nothing. Oh, actually I do. I put together a spreadsheet of the comments that were sent to me, and I've just taken them verbatim, prettying them up a little bit. We have a number of duplicates, but I left the duplicates in there. I won't do it the next meeting because Commissioner Powers won't be here, so it will, we'll have something for you the first meeting in May, providing we're going to go with the first meeting in May, we'll have something, depending upon what's in the docket. If there's a lot, then we'll go to the next meeting. But I do have something prepared. So, if nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. 9:07.